The forest didn't care that Amara was only 12. It didn't care that her village had burned in a lightning fire 3 moons ago, or that she hadn't spoken to another human since the wind carried away the ashes of her home. The trees offered no sympathy, the rivers no warmth. But Amara had learned to survive by foraging, setting traps, and building shelter from fallen branches and bark. Yet even the strongest can feel the ache of loneliness. She was checking a snare trap near a muddy stream one overcast morning when she heard it, a weak, high-pitched whine, not the sound of an adult predator. This was smaller, helpless. Amara moved slowly, following the sound into a thicket where the air smelled of blood and damp fur. Pushing aside the brambles, she froze. There, curled in a mess of soaked leaves and slashed undergrowth, was a tiger cub. Its white-orange coat was matted with mud and blood. One of its back legs bent wrong. It lifted its head briefly, weak golden eyes locking with hers before it collapsed with a soft huff. Amara's heart pounded. A tiger. Alive. Alone. She should run. What if the mother was nearby? But as minutes passed and no adult came crashing through the forest, the reality sank in. This cub was orphaned. Maybe its mother died in the fire. Maybe poachers got her. Whatever the truth, it was alone now. Just like her. She should leave it. That's what any sensible survivor would do. But Amara wasn't just surviving. She was still human. It took nearly an hour to wrap the cub in her cloak and gently carry it back to her shelter, a simple lean-to nestled between 2 boulders and partially shielded by a mossy overhang. The cub barely moved, save a few shivers and soft cries when she cleaned its wound with boiled stream water. She splinted the leg with carved sticks, tied with vines and strips of her tunic. She left it a bowl of mashed berries and rainwater, which it sniffed but didn't touch. She named it Stripe for the single dark streak running down the middle of its white forehead. Days passed. Stripe didn't die. Amara fed him a paste of crushed insects, berries, and fish guts. He took to her scent, let her touch his head, and even purred softly when she scratched the base of his neck. At night, she curled around him for warmth. For the first time since the fire, she didn't wake up crying. Stripe's breathing, slow and rhythmic, calmed her. She whispered stories to him, about her parents, about a home that no longer existed. He listened without judgment. Weeks turned into months. Stripe grew. His limb faded, though the leg always had a slight drag. He followed her everywhere, across streams, through thorny bushes, even into trees. He caught rabbits and brought them to her with pride. Once, he dragged a half-eaten carcass of a deer to her doorstep. She laughed and scolded him for the mess, but deep down, her heart warmed. They were no longer 2 orphans. They were a pack. One day, while searching for wild mushrooms near a fallen log, Stripe suddenly stiffened. His ears flattened, his lips curled. He growled, a deep, menacing sound Amara had never heard before. She froze. Then came the snap of twigs behind her. 2 men emerged from the forest, dressed in camouflage gear, rifles slung over their shoulders. Poachers. Easy now, girl, one said with a grin. Didn't know anyone lived this deep. The other one nudged the first. Is that a tiger? Amara stepped in front of Stripe, arms outstretched. He's mine, she said firmly. Leave us alone. They laughed. Tigers don't belong to little girls. That thing's worth a fortune. The first one raised his rifle. Stripe let out a roar that shook the trees. In a blur of muscle and fury, he leapt past her, slamming into the gunman. The rifle flew from his hands. Amara screamed. The second man raised his weapon, but she was already moving. She grabbed a rock and hurled it at his head. It struck with a dull thud. He staggered, dropped his gun. Stripe stood over the first man, growling. Blood dripped from his claws, but he didn't kill. Not yet. Go! Amara spat, trembling. Leave. If I ever see you again, he won't stop next time. They scrambled away, bleating and cursing. When they were gone, Stripe padded back to her, nuzzling her side. She sank to her knees, tears streaming down her face. You saved me, she whispered. Again. That night, she fed him the largest share of their roasted rabbit and curled up beside him under the stars. He wasn't a cub anymore, and she wasn't just a girl surviving the forest. They were more. They were wild. They were home. They were together.